Us. This is my purple belt, which I've just been given by my teacher, Chris Clear, who is a black belt under Roger Gracie. That purple belt, it's weird, isn't it? Because, just a piece of fabric. But then what are symbols, whether it's in the Cub Scout movement or, the military or wherever you have like these symbols that are accolades, where does the meaning come from? The meaning usually comes from it's hard to acquire it. And certainly the purple belt has meant that I've had to change. Curiously enough, this is one thing I think as a newly inaugurated purple belt, I don't feel like I'm as good as the people that were purple belts when I was a white belt. I remember thinking them people were like Jedis from another dimension, but perhaps I pray this at least, that it's like how you don't see your own hair grow, you're not aware of your own changes and growth in the same way as you are other people's. What this BJJ purple belt means to me is that I've changed as a person. I was a kind of person, I've done a lot of martial arts actually, like kickboxing at one point and Krav Maga and boxing, but always at hobby level. I don't like getting in the ring with someone. I find it intimidating to be in a combat situation. I've had fights when I was younger and I've been in confrontational situations as an adult, and in the past, I've been one of those people who make a lot of noise, because of fear. What I've learned from Jiu-Jitsu is how to handle my body. I've learned humility. I've learned that there are a lot of people that really, really know what they're doing, and you'd be foolish to enter into a confrontation situation without really knowing what you're dealing with. And in fact, let me clarify that. You shouldn't enter into those situations at all. You should never be looking to physically dominate or intimidate anybody in any area of your life. As I've learned to use my own body differently, I feel more certain of that. I feel more at ease with myself. I don't feel so edgy and afraid. As well as my teacher, Chris Clear, from who I've learned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I've had the good fortune of training with Professor Ricardo out there in Los Angeles, amazing teacher. Ben, who's a brown belt under him, and another brown belt whose name escapes me, who's an amazing teacher, a Christian man of Korean origin, a beautiful Irish teacher, trained me over in Ireland. Some great people in Marlow have trained me in the past. I had some really good teachers. I really want to give a special mention to Kehinde and Vandana Gracie, who masterful teachers, very relaxed, very fluid, very loving, very generous. When I'm friends with Hiron in particular, when I called him to say that I got this purple belt, he said, the thing I would say at purple belt is slow down. Now is the time to really slow down in your jiu-jitsu and appreciate it and feel it. It's really, what I like about Jiu-Jitsu, I was just talking to someone who doesn't do it downstairs, right? I like someone who works in publishing. And say, for example, today, where with my teacher, I was working on a spider guard, which means if you've got the person between your legs and you've got your legs wrapped around them, you get hold of their sleeves of their gi. And once you've got your knees inside and you've spread their arms, you put one foot on a bicep and the other foot on a hip, and you can sort of stretch them out. And you're sort of like a spider, you making a web. If your opponent immediately stands up when you're doing that, much of the utility of that particular guard, spider guard, is no longer relevant. You have to adjust and do a different guard that involves the hips. Now, sorry to be esoteric there for a moment, because the philosophical point that I'm trying to make is this. You have to, the minute the person has stood up, you have to accept it. Oh, we're not in spider guard anymore. That's over. But because some of these things are so hard to learn, you've got to hold that, you've got to get your knees in, you've got to get a foot on the bicep. If the person just moves and that opportunity is now suddenly vanquished, personally, I feel like, it should still be spider guard. I've worked really hard to get in spider. Would you mind sitting down again? No, that's gone. Think about how that applies to life. All the time, particularly as a parent, my children are changing. My reality is changing all the time. If I don't adjust, if I'm like, oh no, I've prepared for my life to be this way, well, life isn't this way anymore. It's continually adjusting. Look at what is happening in our culture now. It's our inability to adapt and adjust to changing technological, environmental, social conditions. We have to learn to adjust and adapt. Human beings are so good at adjusting and adapting, but my problem, this is straight into my political beliefs, is we're adjusting and adapting to ideologies and conditioning that are not beneficial to the majority of people. Something like jiu-jitsu means that your spirituality is physical and embodied, not just in your head, but in your whole body, is feeling stuff like, oh my God, this is what it's like to be crushed. This is what it's like to feel powerful. This is what it's like to have to teach another person or be patient with another person. This is what it's like to feel dominated by another person. You know, it teaches you so many life lessons that you can avoid. We can be extracted in life to a position of comfort where we're not experiencing reality. For me, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is reality. The group I belong to, the class I go to, I don't think anybody, like maybe people will notice, oh, that's Russell Brand off the telly or out of them films or off of the internet or whatever. But when it comes to it, once you're rolling with someone, it don't matter. You're just another person that you're rolling with. It creates good sense of connection. You know, everyone that got their belts at that grading that Chris did at the weekend felt honoured because every single person's done their work. There's still different ability levels. There's still loads of people that I think, oh my God, that person's jiu-jitsu is amazing. They're better than me. But what I feel like from doing this sport, from doing this martial art, is that I've changed myself. As a person with a lot of mental health issues, particularly in the past, addiction issues, particularly in the past, how do you change? How do you become a person that isn't addicted to drugs anymore, that isn't dominated by certain behaviours and tendencies? You have to do things differently. And to do things differently, you really need belief and faith. You have to have something in you that will overcome the idea, oh, I can't do jiu-jitsu, oh, I don't like it, I used to get beaten up at school, oh, it's for this type of man. See, we're at the point now with something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu where, you know, there's one side of it where, like, and even in the classes I go to, there's people who think they could do well in MMA or they could compete in like jiu-jitsu competitions to a high level. And then there's someone like me who I feel like I've improved and I back my jiu-jitsu, and you know, now I have this belt as a sort of an accolade and marker of the progress that has been made thanks to my teachers and the people that walked the path ahead of me. But more importantly than that, what I feel I have is I've become a different person. I'm a changed person. Like, and even if it's not about like, you know, like I'm going to go through life as a vigilante, grabbing potential jewel thieves and wrestling them to the floor. It's more like I've walked differently, I feel differently, my mental health is different. I've proven to myself that if I commit myself to something, I can change. For me, this is just sort of one step. I'm still a beginner, the same way as I consider myself a beginner in recovery with 18.5 years, one day at a time, clean and sober from drugs and alcohol. This for me is part of well-being, part of spiritual development. I don't want to live in a world where I'm extracted from the reality of what life is, to have a body, to know you're going to die, to know that there are opposing and malign forces out in the world. I want to feel like I'm progressing. I don't want to live in the pathways that have been laid out for me by a culture of commodity and conformity. I want to be as best as I can, free to explore myself, to discover myself, to be useful to other people in order to be useful for other people. As soon as I start thinking about myself and my ego, which I do pretty regular, disappointment happens, failure happens. So for me, I'm still just thinking about, okay, just keep going forward, just try to improve my jiu-jitsu, be aware of the areas where I need to improve, fighting bigger, heavier purse people, how to get out of guard when it's someone that's super heavy and it's kind of grueling, working on stand-up, which I know a lot of you do BJJ will be thinking about sort of stand-up and takedown side of the game, you know. So I suppose the point of me making this video is to express my pride and gratitude, a healthy pride, I hope, pride in just sort of continuing to work hard rather than pride as in, I know a big shot. And also I think to convey to anyone that if a person like me, or with the background I've got of drug addiction, mental health issues, can commit to something like this and can learn from it, that I think that anybody can, and that lots of you should. You should look for a place near you where it's possible to do BJJ. I've mentioned some fantastic teachers and some fantastic opportunities for learning. You should explore them because you can be met where you're at with it. Do you know what I mean? There'll always be people, obviously, that are like at that elite athlete end or even just have a natural propensity, and we sort of tend to find our level in it. I'm most grateful. I've enjoyed it very much, and I'm very grateful to my teacher, and I'm very grateful to be continuing with the journey. Us! If you like my little spiritual videos chit-chatting about this stuff, please press like and subscribe. Share this thing around on other platforms if you can, and if you want to, on Facebook, on Instagram. Sign up and subscribe to my Awakening channel. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Are you a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu person? How has it affected you? What's your other experiences with martial arts? What are your favourite martial arts? Things with BJJ, it's no good against multiple assailants. That's what someone will say. That you look in the comments now, someone goes, it's not good against multiple assailants. If you're on the floor, someone can kick you in the head. All right, bloody hell. Don't immediately go to a pub car park. Anyway, look at this video, sign up to my mailing list, just one click away so we can stay in regular contact. Thank you.